Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our an overview of Acumatica, the cloud ERP. Um, my name is Chuck Wise. I'm the owner and founder of Copious Solutions. And with us is Alec Wise, who heads up our pre-sales area. So today we have a pretty light agenda. I have one slide about Copious. I promise I will not take up your time on PowerPoint slides. And I promise my one slide isn't 45 minutes long. After that, we're going to jump straight into the software because that's what I like to do when I'm looking at something. I like to just get right to it. So for the Acumatica demonstration, we're going to spend the early part of the conversation on navigation, ease of use, and power in controlling the business. This is it's fundamental, but it's a really important part of Acumatica. Acumatica has built so many tools into the application itself that allow you to really excel as a business. So it's important that we cover that. So we're going to cover that. Then we're going to go over the features of Acumatica for all businesses, whether you're a manufacturer, a distributor, or today, we're specifically looking at modules and features that are going to be relevant for the pumps, valves, and flow meter manufacturing. Okay, so that's our agenda. So let's jump into our one Copious slide. So this is about Copious Solutions. Okay, so Copious was a company called AdNet, a Connecticut-based company that I worked for over 10 years. And I built the ERP practice with AdNet. We were then Macola and SAP Business One. Over the years, I've been Great Plains, Solomon, MK, Sage, Infor. I mean, I've been a lot of mid-market products over my 26-year career in ERP software. We were predominantly manufacturing and distribution customers, manufacturing making up probably 85% of our customer base, and distribution the other 15% of our customer base. And we have several manufacturers that have, over the years, transitioned to become basically R&D and marketing companies because they've outsourced manufacturing, they've outsourced logistics. And so they're basically, we're manufacturers that are now a new breed of manufacturer, right? So we're seeing more and more of that. I purchased the practice from AdNet back in 2014. So we are celebrating our 11th year as Copious Solutions. In 2017, I sold the SAP Business One practice. I found that SAP was a difficult company to work with. But more importantly is their ISV program very poorly managed. And too often you needed to sell 3, 4, 5 different add-on solutions to round out SAP Business One to be a full solution for your customer. And then you find out that this ISV is out of business or this ISV was acquired. And it just wasn't the kind of customer service that Copious wants to deliver or commits to deliver to our customers. So we felt the relationship wasn't really working and it didn't really meet either our needs or the ongoing needs of our customers. So we decided to exit the SAP Business One space. And we mentioned that we were going to sell the practice. We thought it would take longer than it did. We actually had a cash offer for the business inside of 45 days. So we let the business go. We helped transition the business to the new owner and the customers. That was very important to us. We then went and started evaluating all the players in the ERP mid-market space. So, we had worked with so many of them, but they're all the ones that everybody knows, right? They're, Epicor, Infor, Sage, Great Plains, Macola, so many of them in this SAP Business One in the mid-market ERP space. we narrowed our search down to two contenders, Acumatica and NetSuite, because in the older, when we were doing this back in 2017, most of those mid-market players were very structured, single database, single customer, right? Single tenant. So if you were acquiring a new business, it was going to be a new company, a new database. They were very rigid and not flexible. So when we went out to look at a new solution, we needed solutions that were going to be truly multi-branch, multi-company capable within a single tenant slash database. Multi-currency was important. And we wanted an application that was truly going to be SaaS, not one of the old fat client server products retrofitted to be a cloud-based solution, but a true cloud-based application. So we narrowed that down to who checked all the boxes with Acumatica and NetSuite, right? We ultimately selected Acumatica in 2018 because Acumatica's culture and their belief in customer success and what it takes to acquire a customer and keep a customer for years, if not decades, which is what we specialize in, align very well with what Copius has done. We did not find that to be the case with NetSuite. So we found that our own beliefs on customer service and Acumatica's beliefs on customer service were very well suited to each other. And that has proven to have been a very good choice for our part. As a matter of fact, this badge that we have up here, this year, Copius is very proud to announce that we won the Acumatica Excellence Award for Customer Success for 2025. And that award is based on surveys that Acumatica conducts directly to our customers. So we are very committed to customer success. So that's it. That was my slide. I wanted to share a little bit about who we are, where we came from, and the things that are important to us. So with that, I'm going to jump right into the demonstration. So if you'll just give me 1 second to transition out. You should now be able to see my Acumatica screen. And Acumatica is a SaaS-based application. So as you can see here, we can log in. It is truly multi-tenant capable. So you can have multiple tenants within one instance of Acumatica, an instance being a URL, right? So you can manage multiple disparate companies or entities within a single license or single URL of Acumatica. Today, I'm going to log into my tech company. It's my demo company. And we're going to go through some of, as I said, the navigation aspects of Acumatica. So to begin, first, here I am inside of my Acumatica database, and I'm presented with a dashboard. We'll talk about these dashboards in a minute. They're important in really reshaping a business and helping a business really move forward and improve their performance, in a digital age, right? But the first thing I want to start with is my demo database had 3 companies and 4 branches, right? At Capital Revision 2 Products, Revision 2, which is a company. Products for Revision 2 Products is a company, and Services for Revision 2 is a company. Revision 2 Products and Revision 2 Services each have 2 branches. Products Retail, Products Wholesale under Revision 2 Products, and Services East, Services West under Services for Revision 2. So Acumatica is fully capable of running all of these companies. Today, and for most of our demonstration, we're going to be in Product Wholesale Company, which, as you can see here, my banner is blue, and I have my Copius Solutions logo up here in the top left. If I were to switch to my Services East branch, my logo turns maroon, and now I have a different logo up here. It's the Acumatica Cloud ERP logo. So there's a visual differentiation between branches and companies in Acumatica, and you can have employees belong to just one specific branch or entity, and you can have other employees that have access to multiple branches and entities within Acumatica. So Acumatica is very flexible and provides all of the security that you're going to need to be able to manage multiple entities inside a single organization. And we run into this very often, more often than you might think. Companies are managing multiple entities, whether it's just a real estate holding company or a leasing or a completely different entity through acquisition or sales, right? So this is an important aspect of Acumatica. Okay, so let's talk about the dashboards. So Acumatica, out of the box, gives you a whole bunch of dashboards, right? There's a whole bunch of dashboards here. Today, I'm using the customer view dashboard, right? So Copia tells our new customers, listen, these dashboards, we don't think these are the end solution for you, but we think that there's lots of good information in here. And in an implementation, it's easier for us to sit down and look at a dashboard and say, oh, we like that, we don't like that. Could we do this instead? Could we do that? And it just makes the conversation a lot easier than starting with a blank piece of white paper, right? And for the most part, I think you'll find that 70+% of these dashboards are absolutely relevant and would be helpful. So ideally, what we're aiming for in an implementation is that every person in your organization, and remember, Acumatica has an unlimited user license model, which means we can open up the organization not just to the 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 ERP users, but the entire organization. That means we have better data, more real-time data being entered into the system to give us a better view of what's happening with the business throughout the day, every day, all year long, okay? So dashboards, we want each person to have a relevant dashboard that is bringing to their attention the things that they should be working on, right? And so here's where we start the shift from running reports to having the data come to you, right? So here we use red, yellow, green. Red, stop, yellow, cautionary, green, go, right? Just as a way to universally understand, you know, green tiles are okay, red tiles, very bad, probably require immediate attention. Yellow tiles, going to be a problem if we don't do something now to head that off, okay? You as users of Acumatica can modify these tiles, right? So you put it into design mode, you open up a tile, and this is it. You're looking at the whole thing right here. You don't need a developer to create tiles or to modify tiles. You simply tell it which data set you want to report on. You go to your filter settings and you add filters of how you want to filter the data. You then tell it you want to count, you want to sum, and then you set your alarm levels, your normal level and your alarm levels, and then you set your normal color, caution color, alarm color, give it an icon, and give it a title. It's that simple. And there's my KPI that for late orders, right? All of these tiles are drillable, so you can drill into any one of these tiles, and you can see all the data within the tile, okay? So dashboards are super relevant, and what we're driving towards to truly transform the business and how people function in your business. This dashboard has a great feature. It has customer account. So right now, all of these tiles are reporting on the company as a whole. I can very quickly switch this to, let's say, my customer USA bartending, and the dashboard will update to data that is only relevant for USA bartending. So this is, again, a great way to just have one dashboard that multiple people can use to serve multiple masters. And this is a great way if I'm a salesperson or a customer service person or a purchasing person, and I'm getting on the phone with a vendor or a customer or a contact, to have a holistic view of everything that's going on with that customer so that we can, in fact, you know, have a two-way conversation, right? So that's kind of my take on that. Okay. Um, Secondly, we have the global search. You can search for anything here. You can search for USA bartending, and it'll find my customer USA bartending, right? I can look for things like, here's an invoice, 6464. So let's go up here and let's just type 6464, and it'll bring me right to my sales order 6464. So if you have a job function where you know customer numbers, vendor numbers, part numbers, invoice numbers, voucher numbers, check numbers, then you can put that in the global search and you can get right to it. But if you don't, and you're just looking for the name of a customer or the state or the city or just some piece of information, you will still get to it here. Also, the global search can do things like I can type in word like invoice, and it will show me every Acumatica menu pick with the word invoice in it, right? So it makes it very easy for new users to find their way around Acumatica. If you don't quite remember where something is, this is a very easy way to find it. I've been using Acumatica for years, and I almost exclusively navigate Acumatica by using the global search. And the global search still has yet one more main function, and that is I can take a word like invoice, and I can go to help topics, and I will get extremely relevant help on how do I do a pro forma invoice? How do I correct sales invoice? What is it like processing an AR invoice? Or just my invoices and memos, general information, right? So all this information is in Acumatica, and it's very easy to find it. And you can also get to relevant information from any screen or field within Acumatica. So this global search box has the capability of looking up menu items, looking up any data within Acumatica, and looking up help topics as well. So global search, hugely powerful tool. Acumatica wins tons of awards on the usability of the software. Okay, so that pretty much covers what we see here. Now let's take a look at some other features within Acumatica that makes Acumatica a flexible and easy to use application. So here on my workspaces or modules, I can click on a workspace like receivables, and you'll see I have a show left menu and a show all menu. So this simply toggles my menu. My show all shows me every menu pick in the receivables menu. My show left menu shows me just the menu items that I, as an individual, have highlighted to be in my show left menu, because these are the items that I use all the time. And every user in Acumatica can do this. It's very easy. You just put the menu into edit mode, and you simply toggle on what you want to see in your show left menu. You can also create quick tiles at the top. You can add your own menu items and create new tiles for those functions and features that you do repeatedly over and over and over again every single day. And this is available again for all users. So they make the menu system very easy to use. Also, what you can see and do inside of Acumatica is all controlled through Acumatica's advanced security layer. And that goes all the way down to the field level. So you can get to a specific field on a screen and say that user A can edit that. They can add data to it or change data, but they can't delete data. User B can only view, can't edit or change. And user C can view, edit, change, and delete data, right? So Acumatica's onboard security is extremely deep, and it goes all the way down to literally the field level. But they give you a whole bunch of roles right out of the box to get you started pretty quick and pretty easily. Okay, so let's look at a couple other quick things. Customers. So here I'm looking at just a customer list, right? This is a full customer list. You'll notice that some of the lines are highlighted in blue. So Acumatica gives you the ability to highlight contextually certain data that is in your view. So what I've said is I want you to highlight for me any customer that does not have a state loaded on their customer profile. But you can use this feature anywhere in the system. You can highlight items that are below safety stock, or items that have an excessively long lead time, or orders that are late, or quotes that haven't been responded to. So you're able to use this facility inside of Acumatica to highlight data that is important to you, so it pops right out to you on the screen. And starting in the new version of 2025 R2, which is going into beta first week in August, we're now going to have the AI assistant. And the AI assistant will allow me to, using my voice, simply ask questions to Acumatica, like, what was my top selling item in the last month? Or how is my Q2 sales compared to my Q2 sales 2024? Or, what customer of mine has contributed the highest margin dollars to our sales in the last 6 months? Or what items do I have that are currently below their safety stock? So AI being integrated into the ERP system, even though the ERP data is a singular database, it's still going to allow your users, instead of writing reports, to simply ask questions about the data, and Acumatica will present those results to you. It's an extremely powerful tool that we'll be demoing on another one of our recorded demonstrations shortly after it's released in August. So stay tuned for that. So you do have this capability. The other capability you have is over here on my side panel, we have what we call side panels, right? So you can open these up, and each company can decide what they want on their side panel. These are not pre-configured out of the box. This is something that you decide what you want to see on your side panel. And the idea behind side panels is that to reduce clicks, to reduce a user opening up another window or having multiple windows open. It's being able to get to all the things you need to see or do from a single screen, right? So here, I'm on my customers. I've highlighted the customer Alt-Ace, and now it's showing me sales orders for Alt-Ace. If I click on USA Bartending, I'm now looking, sorry, that was me. I shouldn't have clicked on the hyperlink. If I highlight USA Bartending, I'm now looking at the sales orders for USA Bartending versus Alt-Ace. I can go to the AR aging for Alt-Ace. This is Alt-Ace's aging versus USA Bartending's aging, right? So you get the point. It allows you to look at other data. I can modify the customer information right from the side panel. I don't need to open the customer. I have full access to the customer record. I can look at sales quotes. I can look at open sales orders. I could decide I want to look at closed sales quotes, expired sales quotes, open sales quotes, quotes expiring in 14 days, quotes with no action in 7 days. You decide what's relevant to you in the business. We, Copious, of course, help you with that in an implementation. But the concept of side panels is very powerful, and one of the things that leads Acumatica to winning so many awards. And I wished I had included it in this presentation. I didn't, but we just got a new Magic Quadrant yesterday that shows Acumatica the highest of all mid-market ERP applications for usability. And this is one of the reasons why. All these tools that I'm showing you right now is what makes Acumatica an award-winning software from a usability perspective. Also, you notice I have all these tabs across the top. These can be either designed by the company corporately or the individual. So if I look at my Connecticut, here's my Connecticut customers. A user can simply create a filter, save the filter, and apply the filter to create their own tab. So if it's a subset of data that you work with all the time. Like maybe you just want to see accounts that you're responsible for or items that you're responsible for. Then you can create filters to quickly get you to the data that's most important to you, okay? Also, when you create a filter, you can decide that it's your default. So anytime you open up the customer screen, it will default to this view, and you can make it shared, which means if you make it shared, any user in the system can go in and find the filter and use it themselves. So another powerful tool. Also, you can take data in Acumatica and turn it into a pivot table and turn that into a filter. So here I just did a simple pivot. I wanted to see all my customers by state. So here I have 8 customers in the state of California. Here are my 8 customers. If I go back to customers by state, I have 5 in the state of Illinois. So I can look at my customers in Illinois. I mean, this is a very simple example, but it does give you the idea that pivot tables can be created right inside of Acumatica, and they can be used as a tab to help, again, you define that data that you're looking for. So you can either put that on a dashboard or you can put it right into the application itself. Okay, so that's a big part of usability. I'm just going to land back on my dashboard for a minute before we move on. So we've covered a lot. We've covered the dashboards. We've covered the global search. We've covered the multi-company, multi-branch capability. We've covered Acumatica's security, Acumatica's extensive onboard help. Acumatica also puts all their training online at Acumatica Open University. So you can Google that, and as an Acumatica customer, you and all of your people have access to that the entire time you are an Acumatica customer. So it's a great way to have new people that are coming into the organization get up to speed very quickly. Okay, so the last usability things we want to talk about before we start going through the modules is let's talk about the documents in Acumatica. So I'm going to open up a sales order. So here's just a simple sales order inside of Acumatica. And another reason that Acumatica wins these fantastic awards for usability is every single document in Acumatica looks exactly like it, okay? And there's a lot here. So let me walk you through some of the things that are on this sales order, right? So obviously all the header information, who's the customer, sales order numbering, all of that is up the top. Everything is arranged in tabs across the bottom. These are my line items. But more importantly is you have files, activities, and notes. And you're going to see files, activities, and notes throughout Acumatica. Everywhere we go, you're going to see files, activities, and notes in every customer, vendor, part number, stock item, non-stock item, bill of materials, sales order, quote, purchase order, general ledger transaction, bank transaction, check, ACH, no matter what it is, you're going to see files, activities, and notes, right? So what is this? So activities is simple. You can add an email. So I can email somebody right out of Acumatica about this sales order. So I'm going to go ahead and email Alec. And I'm going to say, here, Alec, new order for you to review. And please approve and let me know. Oops, got to work on my typing skills. All right, I'm going to go ahead and send that. So now that is going to show up here under my activity, right? Another way that you can use activities is I can simply come in here and say, I want to email this sales order directly to the customer. So Acumatica is going to go through and email that sales order to my contact, who I've listed. And now I'm going to see that email here as well. So I'm going to see the email. These are form emails. You as a company have full access to what you want these to see, to say, and to read. And then the actual PDF of the sales order or invoice is attached. And of course, you also have full access to Acumatica's onboard report designer. So with Acumatica's onboard report designer, you have full access over what you want these forms to look at. We have customers that have very simple forms. This is the Acumatica form out of the box, this is what it looks like. And then we have customers that have very elaborate forms with 2 and 3 pages of terms and conditions and all kinds of other great stuff in there. So you have full access to all of these tools inside of Acumatica. Okay, so activities are really important. The other thing that you have is you have the ability in Acumatica, and I'm minimizing this, to take a file, like here I have an Acumatica overview PDF, and I can drag it and drop it. You'll notice right now I have one file. I can just drag it and drop it on my sales order. And now you'll see once this is uploaded, and I probably should have picked a better file because this is a large PDF file, so my bad on that one. But here it is. So now this Acumatica overview is permanently attached to this sales order, right? So think of all the great things that you can do with this drag and drop capability, right? So with this drag and drop capability, you can put in customer purchase orders, contracts, agreements, right? If you're in the finance department, and we're focusing on sales orders right now for demonstration purposes, but if you're in finance, you can attach Excel spreadsheets for adjusting journal entries and just attach them right to the journal entry, so that a year from now, or 6 months from now, or 9 months from now, if you need to dig into the details of why this journal entry was made, everything is right there. So being able to use this drag and drop capability is fantastic, and as well as the activities, and you have unlimited notes. And again, you're going to see these throughout almost every screen you look at in Acumatica. You'll also notice, well, on a sales order, we have the same capability over here to do side panels. So you can add side panels to this. We also have user-defined fields. So you can create an unlimited number of user-defined fields. They're called attributes in Acumatica, but they are actual fields that you're adding or creating in the database. They do not ever prevent you from upgrading Acumatica to the latest version or the latest release within your version. They are actually being created in the database. You will create them one time and they will follow you for as long as you're with Acumatica. You don't have to go back and do this. This has been extremely powerful because it has allowed us as implementers to customize Acumatica to work for every specific customer. And so many customers have very specific needs that are not something you're going to see out of the box with any ERP system. So this functionality allows us to customize those features so that you can monitor exactly what you want. And when you create a user-defined field or an attribute in Acumatica, it is a part of the database. So you can use it to report on KPIs, on dashboards, in reports and queries. It's fully accessible throughout the entire Acumatica suite. Okay, so that's user-defined fields that are available everywhere. Also, you can import. So everywhere, let me go back to my expanded view. Everywhere where you see this symbol and this symbol allows you to export everything you see in Acumatica, provided you have the access rights to do that, of course. It allows you to export everything that you see in Acumatica into a usable format using Excel, right? So here, everything comes into Microsoft Excel, and all the data is in its proper column, and it is in a usable format, okay? And you have that capability throughout Acumatica as well. This icon lets you upload data. So I have a sample file that I created earlier today on my desktop. Let me just take a quick look at my desktop. And it's a sales order. And I'm going to go ahead and upload that sales order. So this is a large sales order with many, many line items. And It's all mapped in Acumatica already because I exported the line items, and that is the template you use. And because of that, I'm able to bring in an Excel spreadsheet into Acumatica with a large amount of data in that spreadsheet. So rather than sitting here and, typing and, line for line, you can see I just imported all of these lines into my sales order. Acumatica also makes it very easy for you by creating a copy. I can copy this sales order. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this sales order. And then, and this is a larger order. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a new order. And when I create the new order, I'm able to just go ahead and paste my old sales order into my new sales order to create a new sales document. So if you have customers that order the same thing repetitively over and over and over again, you're able to take an old order, copy it, paste it to a new order, go through it with the customer, remove what you don't want. It'll bring in updated pricing and cost, and you can simply add lines, delete lines, change quantities, do whatever you want. So they make it very easy for you to go ahead and create new orders. There's all kinds of other features here, but today we're not focusing on the specific module, as right now we're just focusing on the usability features of what makes Acumatica such a powerful application to use. So you have the copy and paste capability, you have the import capability, all of this is, you have the files, activities, and notes, and the side panels, and this is all available in every document inside of Acumatica. So I think that pretty much concludes my usability tour of Acumatica. And I hope you see why it's important, right? I mean, these are features that are going to allow all employees within an organization to be better informed, to put data where it needs to be so that people can find it. So there's not multiple copies of the same data all over the place. You're not necessarily going to network drives to retrieve critical information, and you're allowed to, function in a better way, which is going to make you a better company, right? Okay, so moving on, for the next part of our agenda today, I want to just walk you through the modules. So we've already talked about dashboards. I didn't talk about favorites. One thing I missed. Favorites are very simple. Like if I go to payables and I use checks and payments all the time, if I highlight the little yellow star, click it in so that it's a gold star, it would then show up in my favorites menu under payables, checks, and payments. If I uncheck it, it'll go away and it won't be in my favorites menu. So your favorites menu can in fact be your one-stop shop for all the things you want to use all the time. Dashboards we covered, there's a ton of dashboards that come out of the box. So finance module, you have a finance module, it's a full finance module. We have a very clean chart of accounts. The chart of account, primary account number can be, you decide the number of characters. Some of the time we take over your chart of accounts. Some of the time, I'd say 50% of the time, if not maybe even a little better, an ERP implementation is a good time to clean up years and years and years of prolific chart of account use, let's call it that, right? Either way, it doesn't matter. We'll be able to import your chart of account very easily using the import button right here that I showed you earlier under sales order line items. Every account does belong to an account class that you create, and we do our financial reporting based on account classes. We also offer sub-account structures. You can either use sub-account structures or not. It's entirely up to you. But in my sub-account structure, I have a 2-segment, 3 characters. You can see here for demonstration purposes, I've used alphanumeric to demonstrate the capability. I'm managing department and product line. This can be multiple segments. It can be no segments. It can be 1, 3, 5. It's up to you. And they can be 1 character, 2 characters, as many characters as you'd like. So very flexible chart of account. very flexible in doing recurring entries and being able to manage your periods. We have a full accounts receivable module that includes obviously customer management, sales prices, recurring transactions, invoices and memos, payments and applications. The same with payables, bills and adjustments, check, cash purchases, vendor management, vendor locations, all your credit terms for both AR and AP are in here. We also have an approved bills for payment. You can have one person in your company approve the bills and submit them for payment, and another person in your company actually run the ACH or the check file for those vendor payments. We have a banking module where you can record cash transactions. In other words, any transaction that affects your cash accounts that did not occur naturally through AR or AP. So, things like bank fees, wire fees, anything like that, that you can record as a cash transaction or ACH transaction. You can transfer between accounts, where you can do bank deposits, reconciliation statements, and of course, you can import your bank transactions, your credit card transactions, and we have integrated credit card processing within Acumatica. Okay, so there's the suite of finance modules. The only other thing that you may want to include is our fixed asset module, which is very easy to use. I did not include that today, but we do have a fixed asset module that is actually very easy to set up to take over all of your assets in whatever stage of depreciation that they're in and whatever method of depreciation they're in, and easily take them over in Acumatica and start depreciation moving forward from go live day one, okay? Now let's talk about the modules that are specific to almost every business. Inventory, clearly the heart of every manufacturer and distributor, is we have kit assembly capability, we have stock items, non-stock items, we have multiple warehouses. Stock items are as you'd expect to see them. They are, they look like every other screen in Acumatica. We have side panels for stock items so that you can look up things like inventory summary and those kinds of things, right? So if I look up, let me look up my item class for ELC components right here. Perfect. So I'm going to filter this list down to my ELC component. And if I look at my circuit breakers, I come over here, look at an inventory summary. I can see how many I have on hand, how many are available, where are they? I have a retail warehouse. I have a truck, a physical truck 01 that's driving around with 10 pieces of these on hand. I can also see how many have been booked, how many are allocated, shipped, and I can keep going. Is there production orders? Are there purchase orders? So I can see everything there. I can also see purchase order details. So if I have any open purchase orders, I can see a purchase order 1703. I have 150 of these coming in, right? So again, you decide what you want on your side panels. We want it to be relevant to the data, so it saves your people time in getting to the information that they need to make good, sound decisions and be responsive to your customers. Okay. We have a full inventory, physical inventory process built into Acumatica. Purchases, we have vendor management, we have requests, internal requests and requisitions. Requisitions can be both internal and external. So a requisition can be somebody inside the company asking for, a new computer or manufacturing operating supplies, facility supplies, but it can also be bidding on new business. Here I have a product, I'm going out and I want to bid this to vendors and I want pricing for 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. I can select the vendors I want to bid on, Alt-Ace, Go-To Vendor, and Alpine Air Products. And then when I get the response back, I can actually create a vendor response. I can fill in the vendor's pricing and lead time, and then I'm able to go ahead and eventually pick a vendor, award the business, and create the purchase order. So requisitions in Acumatica are both internal as well as external facing to deal with bidding new business out to vendors. Purchase orders, we'll very quickly just look at a purchase order. It looks very much like a sales order. Every document in Acumatica looks the same way. You got your header information, your user-defined field, your files, activities, and notes, and then all your tabs along the bottom, okay? So you have your request, your requisitions, your purchase orders, and then, of course, your receipt of inventory that's coming in. We have receive and put away, so we have a full barcode solution if you are barcoding and you want to perform your warehouse transactions via barcode, okay? Sales orders, we've already covered what a sales order looks like. Customers, you can generate sales prices inside of Acumatica. You can upload sales prices, so there's lots of great ways to continually modify your pricing. You can either set pricing, or pricing can be a calculation based on cost and expected margin, so that pricing is dynamic to cost. So, we have all those capabilities inside of Acumatica as well. Then you have your bill of materials for our manufacturing companies. You have your engineering workbench, so you can open up a bill of materials, and it'll show you your bill of materials graphically, right? So here we have two operations, Operation 10, Operation 20, and Operation 10 has two materials in it. You can create bills using the workbench. You can edit bills using the workbench. So the workbench is a great way to graphically see your bills and materials that you are creating. Obviously, you create your work centers. The critical function when we're implementing a manufacturer. What are your work centers? What are the shifts? You can have multiple shifts. You can have multiple overhead rates applied to a work center, machines, and then, of course, it'll show you which BOMs it's used in, and are there any substitute work centers that you can use should there be something wrong with this work center, okay? You get cost rolling capability, and you get costed bills of materials as well. So that all comes inside the BOM module. And then, of course, you have your production orders, where you will create production orders, and your users can create labor transactions, move transactions, material transactions. Acumatica does not require you to do any of that. You can do a simple one-step routing and you're done, or you can do a very detailed routing with multiple steps. We cover vendor shipments. So if you have outside process operations that are occurring, which many of our pumps, valves, and flow meter companies do, we're able to take the parts, send them out, have them serviced. The cost of that then becomes part of the work order. It gets paid through AP, but the cost flows to the work order. Then it moves on to the next operation. You can go in and out of the building many times throughout the course of an operation. You have your production tickets. Production tickets can either be barcoded or not barcoded. It depends on how you want, what you want to use inside your organization. So this is a simple non-barcoded ticket. Here's my operations. Here are the materials that are going to be used within the operation. So it can be used as a pick ticket as well. Then if you're using our CRM module, you get marketing. So you can manage leads, mass mails, and opportunities. And then under the opportunities, you can do sales quotes, project quotes. We have a project module. So quite frequently, if you're working on a large project, we run into this a lot when we're working with like water treatment facilities. Our water treatment customers may be called in to create a series of pumps and valves for a water treatment facility. So we think of it as a project. It's going to require designs and approvals and flow rates and all kinds of other things. And then we'll get it approved. So it's a long process that can all be managed through a projects module inside of Acumatica. and project quotes, which then convert to sales orders, and so on and so forth. Okay. And then the last thing that's for general business is, of course, MRP. So we have an extensive MRP system that basically this is the result of the MRP display. I think my largest customer that has the largest number of SKUs and transactions, their MRP generates in about 20 minutes. That's the worst I've seen so far. Most customers' MRP generates in a minute, 2 minutes, 6 minutes. It's very quick. Everything you see on the screen, MRP is telling you you need it. There's no question about it. I have gone through this myself many, many times with customers. Customers will say, I don't think this belongs on here. We'll dig into it, and you absolutely need it. There's no doubt in my mind that if Acumatica's MRP puts it on this screen, you either need to build it or buy it. There's absolutely no question. Now, perhaps the data is incorrect. You may have a safety stock that you didn't know you had, and you're like, well, I really don't need to keep 10 of those on the shelf. So then you need to go back and correct the data, rerun MRP, and then the requirement will be removed, right? But if it's on here, I guarantee you need it. Acumatica will tell you over here under related documents, this is for a sales order, this is for a production order. So it will go through and tell you what you need and why you need it, okay? You can also drill into more details for any item. You'll notice you have results by item over here. So this is your chronological view of the item. It's telling you you need 30 of these because you have a sales order 6422 for 30 pieces. But it also told us that over here. But if it was an item with more requirements, you would see all the requirements for all time in your results by item side panel over here. This used to be a menu pick. It's now been added to the side panel to make it even easier for a buyer or a planner to drill into the details of why MRP is making this recommendation for you. From here, you can select a box or several. They can be random, they can be sequential, and you can either initiate a purchase order or a manufacturing work order or a transfer from another warehouse that already has supply. Okay, so I'm going to pause here for just one quick second. I want to go back to our agenda, and I want to say, so we've already covered navigation, ease of use, and the power in controlling the business. Acumatica is designed to have data come to you, not for you to go look for the data. It also has approval maps built in. So I didn't show you that. I absolutely should show you that. Let me take a quick look at that. That's important. I'm sorry I missed that. Purchase orders. If I open up a purchase order and I take a look at this purchase order, this is an open purchase order. Let me look at a purchase order that is on hold. Here's a purchase order that's on hold. In other words, I haven't removed it from hold yet, so it's not officially a purchase order yet. But now I've talked to the vendor, I've confirmed my pricing, I'm ready to go ahead and release this purchase order. I remove it from hold, and it goes into pending approval because I have an approval map set up. So what are approval maps in Acumatica? You can design an approval map for just about anything. So in this case, we have a two-step PO approval map set up. And what this basically says is when I enter a PO here, once it's taken off of hold and the approver is empty, it's going to go to Layla to be approved. Once Layla approves it, if there's now an approval on there, but the order total is greater than $5,000, it's going to go to our executive, Maxwell Baker, for approval. So you can build in approval maps for anything in Acumatica, right? So think of like sales orders. If a line item doesn't meet your minimum margin expectations, on hold. If a salesperson tries to discount more than what you authorize them to discount, on hold requires approval. Acumatica ensures that transactions that are being performed by your staff are meeting the guidelines that you've set up to run the business. Sorry that I missed that, and then I had to backtrack to that. So let's just go ahead and wrap up. So now I want to talk about specific features that we use in the pumps, valves, and flow meters manufacturing industry, and that will wrap up our presentation today. So those are estimating, product configurator, equipment, and services. So we're going to do just a very quick tour of those, another 5-10 minutes, and then we'll be able to wrap up our presentation today. And I hope if you like what you've seen in Acumatica, you will reach out to Copious. We would love to get to know you, get to know your specific story, get to know what you need in your business. What are your challenges and hurdles? Help you to overcome those, and use Acumatica to help you be a better business than you are today. Okay, so estimating. What is estimating? Very simply, estimating is the ability to create an estimate in the system. I'm going to go ahead and open up an estimate that I have. You'll see here that it's a non-inventory item. What does that mean? That means that the inventory item T-Tech does not exist in my system today. It's a future item, okay? Then I'm able to add basically the routing. So without building the bill of materials, I'm able to add the routing steps. I'm able to open the routing step, and I'm able to add the labor, the setup, the run units, the machine time, which would then incorporate my work centers. So here, work center 10, which will then incorporate any overhead rates and all of that. I'm able to add materials, record steps, list tools, add overhead rates. Here I have a floor space overhead rate and any outside processes that are going to be required. And it will start building for me the cost. What's my fixed labor cost? What's my variable labor cost? My machine cost, my material cost, fixed overhead cost, variable overhead cost, subcontracting costs, outside process. So my total cost of this product is $170.05, right? So that feeds back to my estimate. You'll also notice that when I was here and you look at the materials, I can also have non-inventory materials. That means that I can create future raw material items as well, or future sub-assemblies that will then be used. What does this do for me? It allows me to create an estimate for a prospective customer or for an existing customer for a new product that we don't build today, which we run into very frequently in both pumps, valves, and flow meters, and not clutter my database with items I'm never going to use and bills of materials I'm never going to use and all of that, right? So here I can simply do a quote right from the estimate. I can include the estimate on a sales order, sales quote, and if I win the order, then I simply can go back, click the button here, and I can create the items, create the BOMs, create the production order, create the sales order. All of that can be created right from here, right? So no double entry, no chance of making additional mistakes. Once it's approved, off it goes, right? And you can use Acumatica's files and activities to track the progress of the conversation with the customer. So estimating is really a great module to use, and we've set it up and configured it, in this case, for pumps and valve manufacturers and flow meters, okay? Product configurator. So product configurator, I think we all know what a product configurator is. I'm actually going to jump into one of my customers' systems. They've given us permission to use their sandbox system today. They are a flow meter company, so they make custom flow meters for their customers, right? So today we're going to create a new sales order. I'm just going to go ahead and very quickly create a new sales order. It could be a quote, it could be a sales order. It doesn't really matter. It's going to function exactly the same way. So today I'm going to use Capital Helicopters. And I'm going to add a configured item, 1502 CG-1. So I'm going to add that item. Oops, sorry about that. I need it to 1502 DG-1. Of course, I think the entire database starts with 502 DG. So give me just a second here to find my actual DG1. I should have used a better product here. Here, this will work. Okay, so nope, not a configured item. Sorry about that. 1502 DG-1. I think we just went by it. There it is. Okay, let me get rid of this line. So you'll see that when I added this item, I'm going to do a quantity of 1. They make individual flow meters, and they very frequently, most of their order quantities are in fact 1. Okay, you'll see that it's a configured item. Okay, so very quickly going to save my data so I don't lose my place. Oh, Acumatica has alerted me I have to have a customer order number in here. So I'm going to go ahead and correct that and then go ahead and save my order. Once I've saved my order, I can now go through and my configure button has become active, and I can now configure this flow meter. So here you'll see this particular customer says you have to select a housing, and then you have to select top scale and an internal and a dial case and a lens and options and a maxed out, right? So because the 1502 DG is a particular model, many of these choices are already filled out for me, and they're not really options. But the range here is an option. So I can go here and I can click a range, and let's say we're going to make this 200 PSID. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. And now you'll see my red X goes away, and I actually have a full configured part. You can actually go into any one of these and you can change options. So I could say, you know, I actually don't want this body. The customer wants to use this body, and we're going to use this body instead, right? So I'm able to do that. Go ahead and click save. It saves my configuration. It's actually going to yell at me because it's telling me I have to put in a scale number. I didn't put in a scale number. So my max scale is going to be 500. Once I've satisfied all the questions in the configurator, so I've been able to take a base model and configure it exactly the way the customer wants it. There are more options, like let's take a look at our options. Oh, customer would like a steel ID tag on them. That's fine, we can do that. They'd like a colored arc on their flow meter, and they want a certificate of accuracy. Well, we can certainly do that for them. So we're going to go ahead and add all that to there. And once we're done and we click finish, it's going to write all that configured item back to the sales order, which would then be used to create an actual production order to build this very special configured part. And in this instance, with this customer, they've decided that the cert will actually show up as a separate line item, not just as a part of the production order, to make sure that the shipper does not forget that the cert needs to go with the product when the product ships to the customer. So that is the configuration tool. So it allows you to basically build your online configurator. It is not predetermined. It's obviously based on your product, your offerings, and we can set up dependencies and exclusions, and what if you pick this, you can't pick this, but if you pick this, you have to pick this. So we set all that up in the configuration table itself. This particular customer has done just a wonderful job of doing that under the configurator. They've done a great job of actually setting all that up. So that's been fantastic. Okay, so back to our menu here. So we talked about product configurator, and then the last thing we're going to talk about today is equipment and service. So also very common in all basically pumps, valves, and flow meters. We're generally working with water, whether it's water treatment, water management, oil and gas, airs, whether they're gases. All of these industries have very, very common business needs, right? And in many of those instances, we are deploying field services. So Acumatica has the ability for you to create service contracts. So you can create a service contract to say, okay, I'm going to go out to this customer, USA Bartending, and I'm going to set up a schedule for a preventative maintenance visit every 6 months. And the system, you can build it to the customer, and the system will alert you when it's time to renew the contract with the customer. And then it'll also create the maintenance, preventative maintenance appointment and put it on the field service calendar, waiting to be scheduled and assigned to a tech to make sure that you can do all of your preventative maintenance. It's not just preventative maintenance. It can be break fix. It can be all kinds of other things, right? So you can include, a warranty for parts for 3 years. You can warranty labor for 1 year. All of that can be included in your service contract. You also can manage equipment. So any equipment that you sell, or maybe that you didn't sell, but the customers come to you and ask you to service it, you can set the equipment up inside of Acumatica. You can track if you sold it, who sold it, does it have a registration number, a serial number? Right here's the model serial number. Who was the manufacturer if it's not you, if it's a buy resell, who's the owner, and more importantly, where exactly is the equipment located? So if you're in an industry where equipment may move from one owner to another owner, you are able to track the entire life of the equipment, who has owned it, where is the equipment today, and what is the full expansive view of the equipment the entire time the equipment has been in existence, okay? Then once you have your equipment and your service contract set up, you can certainly use service orders. And these are simply orders to go out. They can be something like installation. You can have a service order type for installation, but you can also create things like internal service order, maintenance, repairs and operations, break fix, training, cleaning, annual contract work. All of that can be done. We have a robotics company that builds undersea robotics that cleans the hulls of ships. They use the service module and they sell contract, and they go out and they deploy these robots to go out and clean ships while the ships are in port. As I've learned from working in that industry, there's a tremendous savings to shipping companies and cruise lines by keeping the hulls clean. Their ships perform much more efficiently, and their gas usage is greatly diminished by keeping a clean hull versus an unclean hull. So this is another way that field service is used outside of pumps, valves, and flow meters. So we have the service module. Of course, you can set up all your staff. We have a calendar board, a staff calendar board, and you can even look at appointment history on a map. So you can look at your upcoming appointments or your historic appointments on a map. You can track where your service techs are in relation to an upcoming appointment, or if you take an emergency break fix, you can see what tech is closest to that area, right? So we have companies that do have techs on the road in a truck carrying inventory, and then we have other companies that techs aren't really on the road, they're sort of deployed and they would mostly, via airfare, go out to see a customer and perform a service or an installation or a run-up or a diagnostic or something like that. So that's how service is used, and it's an important feature for, again, the pumps, valves, and flow meter industry. So again, I'm just going to bring us back to our dashboard. Let's take a quick look at our PowerPoint presentation. We have covered navigation, ease of use, power and controlling the business, Acumatica features for all businesses, and features that we have found specifically have a tremendous use in pumps, valves, and flow meters. Copius has quite a collection of customers in this area. We love to share our experience and best practices and allow you to implement Acumatica in a way that's going to make you a better company. So again, if any of what you've seen today resonates with you and you can see how these tool sets could benefit your organization, please reach out to Alec, and Alec can set up times. We would love to start understanding your business, your specific needs, your challenges, your obstacles and roadblocks, decide what a year plan, 2-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan with Acumatica looks for you, and then dig into some of these modules in, certainly much more detail than we could do today in an hour. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. We sincerely look forward to hopefully being of service to you in the future. Thanks. Bye-bye.